Welcome to Focus on Liberia. I'm Anthony C.A., hosting along with my partner, William Thomas Benakin. And this is Focus on Liberia. Today we are venturing into a different territory. Actually, not too different. We live here in the United States. Tomorrow is Judgment Day, a political judgment day. Americans will be casting their ballots. Tomorrow is the official day for that election. And we are here to have a panel discussion to see who's going to win that election. We will also be looking at predictions from our panelists here. We'll be looking at the polls. So welcome to the broadcast. As usual, do that favor for us by hitting that share button. We want a lot of people to be part of this conversation. This election is a serious one. Emotions are high, but let me turn things over to my man Thomas Benakin here for further introduction of the show. William, quickly, let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We have a full panelist here. As you guys know, if you're tuning in to Focus on Liberia, you're no strangers to some of the folks you see here. They pack a mean punch, and they are here to state their case for the prediction for the presidential election of the United States of America. Something different, like Anthony said. We ask you to please share. And today, as you have seen, we are so happy that we are being joined by something that is rare, but we welcome it and we want more, which is we have an astute lady here, Miss Jackie, and we'll go around and introduce ourselves, but you know, a lady's opinion is very important. And as you know, nations are built and fall with the words of a woman. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we're here. We're ready to get the ball and the show rolling. Back to you, Anthony.
Thank you, William. And we want to say a very big thank you to those of you who are watching the show right now and also to our panelists. Let's get started. In our first segment here, we will be getting opening statement from each of our panelists. And in your opening statement, please state your name and make a disclosure if you are supporting any of the two political parties, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, or if you are an independent, you should also make that known and why you are with that side that you are supporting. In Liberia, we always say, ladies and gentlemen, the only lady in the house is Jackie. Jackie, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Your introduction, please.
Thank you, Dennis, and thank you for inviting me to join the panel. For full disclosure, I vote blue, Democrat all the way. And I work in New York, upstate New York, and I look forward to a very fruitful discussion. And hopefully on November 3rd, we will all be celebrating the right choice. I look forward to talking about the voters. I look forward to talking about women and how women view both of the candidates. And I look forward to a very fruitful discussion. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Jackie. Let me come to the man, Chuchu Alice Jones is no stranger to Focus on Liberia. Mr. Jones, welcome to Focus on Liberia. I have called your name, but a disclosure from you. Which side do you support and why?
Well, I'm independent. I've never been affiliated with any party, whether in the United States or Liberia or anywhere else. My background is in finance and banking. I'm an analyst and consultant, so I tend to stay very neutral of politics and stay on the analytical side. And I'm pleased to be here to join these bright and wonderful people to discuss the U.S. election.
Thank you, Alice Chuchu Jones there. Let's come to the man, Jusu. Jusu, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Where side you stand and in disclosure you want to make and why?
Well, thanks, Anthony. Jusuko is my name. My background is aviation. Got a degree, my master's degree in aeronautical science. And so just like the brother before me, I'm independent. However, to take it a little further, I'm a conservative independent because I subscribe to social conservative values as I promote the free enterprise. And so, but when it comes on the line of politics, it's so easy for people to label you as being a Republican if you say I'm a conservative. So I've lived with that for a while now. I understand that a lot of people think that they are synonymous, you know. But yeah, as far as who do I support right now, I don't have a supporter. I mean, I don't have a person that I support right now, but I will be very happy to give my own prediction on what I think will be obtaining tomorrow.
Thank you, Jusu. Also, joining up for the first time is Mr. Zion. Welcome to Focus on Liberia. Any disclosure you want to make? Do you support any of these parties, and why?
Well, thank you very much, Anthony. I'm very glad to be on tonight. I am an independent, like the brother who spoke just before me. I'm very conservative in my activities. And previously, I've been supporting the democratic ideals until I started waking up to realities and following policies. And well, he did say something about the free market enterprise. And I'm a very strong believer of that. And I believe the Republican Party holds such value. And that's the reason why I'm fully and wholly supporting the Republican Party this election. And I'm 100% sure they will win.
Thank you so very much. And again, welcome to Focus on Liberia. We are happy to have you for the first time. Johnny
Thank you.
also is Obe Obe. That is his popular name on social media. He's widely known in the Liberian community. Mr. Obe Obe is joining us for the first time. Focus on Liberia. Obe, welcome. You know the routine. Where side you stand and why? You are on mute, Obe. Yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah.
What I say is no. It's what I know on social media. I don't have that. I don't pretend. All right, I'm a bona fide Republican from the day I came in this country. I have been a Republican,
Mhm.
but I went against my way to vote Obama for the first time because that history was necessary, and I voted for him on ground that we have to make that history here for what the people here went through. We all know that they built this nation, so that was at least fair. But in the second term, I found out that he was not the right person. At least I think Jeffrey Jackson could have done better, or Al Sharpton could have done better. So I did not vote for him for the second time. I voted Republican. I went straight by Republican. But I'm Republican. I'm party discipline. I vote party line. So once you are Republican, get there, then I bother. Once I walk in, I'm Republican.
Republican all the way. That's the man. Obe Obe. Obe, thank you for your opening statement there. Before I get to my partner here, Thomas Willen King, myself too, I'm a blue guy. That's why you see the blue behind me. So that's all I'm willing to share. I support the Democratic Party, and I think that is enough. Mr. King, I don't know where you stand on this election that's coming.
Well, to be quite honest with you, I've always considered myself a independent because joining political party, they're always asking for your money, and as you know, in California, real estate is expensive, so I need all my little coppers. But I find myself this election looking at it a little bit closely, and quite frankly, the social injustice rhetoric that is coming from the White House have me a little bit scared, and so. Because of that, I have to say that I think that I want someone else in the White House other than the person that is there right now.
Thank you, William Thomas Bernard Kim. And to you, panelists, and those watching, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go straightly into all the election dynamics. We're not going to talk about policies here. We'll talk about the polls. We'll look at the demographic. We'll look at the early voting, results, and also the polling about election day voting. We'll be looking at all those things. We'll look at the culture of voting. Talk about the demographics earlier, women, men, young, and old. We will look at all that. And at the end of it all, we will look at the culture of voting in America, both Democratic voters and Republican voters. And after that, you will be able to make your prediction whether Joe Biden will be going to the White House or Donald Trump will be capturing that White House for the second time. So let's get started. And So this is where we begin the analysis. The national pool, and I will read that to you as I show it on the screen. All the national pools from CNN to Fox News or NBC, Wall Street Journal, all the polls show that Joe Biden is leading, and many of you follow these issues, I want to believe. We have similar polls like this in 2016, but at the end of the election, Donald Trump became the president. So how is this one different this time around? The only difference I see is that uh, Joe Biden is leading with a much bigger margin compared to the numbers that Hillary Clinton had. So let's start with you, Jackie. Jackie, can we trust these numbers? We trusted these numbers in 2016. It turned out to be the opposite.
Well, I do know that with Hillary, it started to shrink and shrink really bad. And then it went to non-existent. And then we have what we have. I think for me, Dennis, Anthony, I've been looking at the polls, and as a New Yorker, I see that Biden is up 29%. And then on SurveyMonkey, 63% as of November 1st. And then with women, he's up in the swing states 23%. For me, I do not think that it's time to celebrate. I think the most dangerous people right now, or the people to look at, are the silent majority. The people who will go to the polls on voting day, but motivated by fear. Those people don't speak. They do not go to polls, but they will make their voices heard on November 3rd. And I think those are the people that we should all look out for. They don't go to the polls. They stay in their homes. They come out November 3rd. So I think it's too early to make a prediction. What I would say to you, Dennis, is that
Answer then.
Sorry.
I'm going to start talking to you more.
Yes. What I would say is that, I'm a historian, right? I did history and literature at the University of Liberia, and then comparative lit and history again at Cornell. But what I would say is that, I've been reading a book. It's called The Common Good. And in The Common Good, it says that the people of a nation must hold things, right? That is a shared value system, And in the United States, that is splintering. The common good now is debatable.
Okay.
Right is not right anymore. Wrong is not wrong. It's almost like George Orwell, 1984. If you read 1984, you know that in Oceania, the all-powerful party, they had what you call doublethink, where right was not right, and people started to doubt what was true. What is this really true? Even if it was facts, right? The all-powerful party brought in alternate facts, and people started to double think. So I would say that we've entered into very dangerous territory when what you thought you knew is not what you know now. And then you start to think, wait, what's right here and what's wrong? The most important thing is that if you remember, in the olden days, what the tyrants used to do was to invalidate the truth speakers, right? So Plato was pushed aside. Galileo was imprisoned for 10 years because he said that the earth revolved around the sun, right? So once you start invalidating those truth speakers, then there is no truth, right?
And
so
are you saying that that's the opposite in today's world?
No, I'm saying in order to become a tyrant, you have to give people another version of the truth.
Okay.
So those who are saying this thing is true, you must make it say, you must say, no, these people are not the truth tellers. I am the truth tellers. And what I'm trying to say is that we're in this really alternate universe where everybody's trying to seek the truth, and where to get the source. So my thing is, I would not make any prediction until November 4th. I strongly believe that we
November 4th, why not November 3rd, Jackie? Why not November 3rd? Why are you going all the way to the 4th?
November 4th.
All
November
right.
4th. Because you have mail-in ballots.
All right,
Yes.
thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Let me come to you, Obed. You stated quite clearly that you are a Republican and you
Mm-hmm.
vote Republican all the way, just as
Yes, sir.
Jackie does. So let me leave the lukewarm or independent a little bit and come to you, Obed. We're talking about the national polling. I said earlier that we saw that before in 2016. The only difference is that Biden leads a little higher than what Hillary had. And
Mm-hmm.
but now, but Trump came from behind and swept it. Are we going to see a repeat of that? If so, then why?
Let me just tell my sister something. She was right to say she wants to wait
Hmm.
until the final ballot is cast
Right.
and the winner is declared. I think at this time now that Democrats, after the 2016 election, are still dependent on polls.
Hmm.
Let me ask you, Mr. Moderator,
Hmm.
did any pollster call you? You are a Democrat. Did they call you?
Yes.
You participated in the poll. Are you honest about that? Because I'm a Republican. I did not participate in the poll. I don't know how many people here, even the independents, I don't know how many you call from posters.
Yeah.
Okay, no, the real voters. Okay, they don't take polls. Now these guys are in the South, in Texas, in the country where the state sleep on lantern. You are not believing it. There are people who still sleep on in Texas. They don't take polls. They don't even like internet. These are the people when they speak, they even understand that you got to listen very carefully. They don't know what poll is. We're going to Alabama. They don't know what poll is. So the whole poll thing is the liberal. If you look at the polls, the people who conduct the poll are liberal media, the CNN, the MSNBC, the Huffington Post, the Washington Post, the New York Times. Okay, those are all things they try to do to get viewership and ratings. Okay, you cannot determine an election by a poll.
Hmm.
Okay, first of all, you got to know the number of registered voters. Okay,
Hmm.
all right, and then you got to know who's now voting. Then you conduct poll. But what they do is they pick the phone and just call everybody randomly. Okay, that's what they do. Now, because young folks, if you take the statistics, most of the people they interview on the street, that you see on CNN, those are poll they are conducting. On the beach in California, those are poll they are conducting with the CNN microphone, even Fox News itself. All right, even though it's not the poll, but it takes toll from how do you call the I'm gonna say Quinnipiac poll. They
Yeah, yeah,
always
yeah. The Quinnipiac poll.
Quinnipiac poll. They always try to report that because they say it's a bit more. If you listen to the Quinnipiac poll, Trump and Biden are neck to neck.
But Obeo, if I may ask you this question, yeah, Obeo, if I may ask you the question, you've been here for some time now, and I'm sure you are aware that these polls got it right. I can say maybe 90% of the time. Not until 2016 when the polls, did not get it right. So are you trying to tell me that that trend will continue? And what has been a trend in the past about the polls getting it right all along is no more a
Let me tell you something.
possibility?
Let me tell you something, sir.
Okay.
America doesn't follow poll. They don't vote upon poll. American voters are so educated, they vote upon the issues. Okay? They vote upon the issues that touches them. The issue that touches them, that's what they vote upon. Okay? That's why all you have to do, listen to the candidates. They always have key phrases. So I will use patriots. This is our country. I'm only here for America. I'm here for America and America only. That's what the people want to hear. Okay? The other liberal people want their progressive. They want to open America for everybody. Okay? That's good. But you now have borders. People came here through refugees. That was not their fault. Okay? But you cannot have people jumping the
Let me push you a little bit. Why you mean that you don't have voters? From my following of most of the election, for the most part, Democrats have been winning the popular vote. Even the 2016 election we're talking about, my understanding is that Hillary Clinton won about 3 million votes more than Trump. So if you say they don't have the votes, I don't know what you mean by that.
The popular vote is a political vote. Okay, Donald Trump was not a politician. And the popular vote doesn't count. It doesn't. What counts in the electoral system is the electoral college. That's what counts. Those over 500 people that selected from each state to represent your state and your district, they cast the ballot that we cast for president. And those are the people that vote on the issue. Okay? Now, I'm telling you that Joe Biden will lose. Okay? Joe Biden will lose. He might not lose as bad as Hillary Clinton did, but he will lose.
All right.
The issue was his son.
Thank you.
Okay? The issue was himself and China. And all the leaked tape and emails, Joe Biden will lose. Why are you saying they did not bring the email early? You got to understand American political system. You can know when it's difficult, you can know who's going to win.
Thank you.
Who released these emails? Mm-hmm. Where it came from? Why they did not show it? Why they did not talk about his son, Hunter Biden, until they waited to a week before the election, all this stuff coming out. You got to understand how the politics play.
Thank you, Obey. We will get back to you. You know that people are voting early, and so we'll talk about that too. Let me come to Ellis Chuchu Jones. Mr. Jones, you are independent, but you have been looking and following. Which way you think this thing gonna go? And looking at the polls.
Well, I think it's a foregone conclusion that Joe Biden wins the election, unfortunately. And the reason I would say that is because the policies of Joe Biden is not impressive. I do not believe that there will be a marginal difference in terms of actual performance, in terms of the economic, foreign relations, poverty, all these things. I think Trump loses the election, and I just want to clarify that I was one of those who predicted that Trump was going to win the last election. And I am saying Joe Biden is going to win this election, and by a landslide. I think it's going to be very big. I do not think that after the election result are announced, tomorrow night will be the end of it. I think there will be serious legal battles, especially in Pennsylvania and perhaps in Florida. And I think that could drag on. That could be the interesting part. But again, I think the main reason why Joe Biden wins is two-factor. One is, of course, the COVID. And the second main factor is the Black Lives Matter, which is going to bring up a lot of blacks to the poll. As you can already see, that there's been a record number of voters so far who've turned out so far. And that's whenever that happens, Republicans is in trouble because Republicans usually vote. It's the Democrats that have a hard time, especially blacks, coming up to the polls. And after the disappointment by Barack Obama, as you saw in the 2016 election, many blacks stay home, and rightly so. They had no reason to vote because they was like, what are we voting for? I mean, we got nothing out of, 8 years of Obama. Our conditions are still deplorable. So they didn't go show up. I think this time around, why they're going to show up is because, of course, the Black Lives Matter, that wishes and the rhetorics and racist slur being carried out by President Trump. I think that's the only factor. Had it not been for the Black Lives Matter, Trump would have definitely win this election.
All right, let me come to you, Jusu. You say you are a conservative voter. Which way you think this thing gonna go, depending on the way the polls are looking?
Well, for all of the previous speakers, I was just kind of picking up different stuff that they put forth. And like, for instance, the first speaker, she made a very key, she put forth a very key point that has to do with the silent majority. Mm-hmm. Those people, they are a major block during elections, but people do not really look at it. Like the brother said, those folks all the way in Alabama and those places, you don't go there to pull them. Mm-hmm. But those are the people that turn out on election day and make the difference. Right now, it's not over until it's over. So quite frankly, I cannot make any prediction. Like the brother before me said, COVID is playing a lot of role here right now. I got people in the medical area very, close to me who are telling me what they see from the medical side. Mm-hmm. And they are kind of blaming the president for a lot of things that is going wrong, in the medical community. Mm-hmm. A lot of things are going wrong in the scientific community. They're saying that the president is not paying attention to the scientists, is not paying attention to science.
Right.
And those are things like one of the previous speakers said, because people are so, he said, American voters are very educated voters, and they vote on issues. That is something that somebody could drive to the poll and vote for or vote against, because of what they're saying from the medical side. Who do I want to win? I want somebody conservative to win, someone who subscribes to conservative values to win, who supports the free enterprise, who has policies that have less regulation for small businesses to be able to start up and hit the ground running. Those things that President Trump started with the opportunity zones, those are all attractive things for the minority community, especially the African American community. The previous brother talked about Black Lives Matter. Because of Black Lives Matter, Blacks are going out to vote. But almost all the polls are coming out saying that Black support for Trump is increasing. Unlike, Mitt Romney, even George Bush, Trump is having a higher number right now when it comes to Black voters. So with all of these different indicators, I can tell you, we don't really know. If COVID had not come, I will tell you clear cut is Trump. If COVID had not come, because the economy was doing so well. I mean, the lowest unemployment for every demographic group. All these things were happening. COVID came, is not his fault. But a lot of people are talking about the management of COVID. They are not very impressed about the management of COVID. So because of that, I will kind of sit on the edge of my seat tomorrow to see what happened. I cannot really give.
So for you, you are saying that had it not been because of COVID, you would be in a position to say Trump's going to win.
Yes.
All right.
Because
Alex Jones talk about the Black Lives Matter dynamics, because of the what you call police violence, the death of George Floyd, and other cases. The Black people are more like on their heels, and they want to see a change. And it's like for them now, that change is to get Mr. Trump out of the White House, because it's during his administration that they see these too many deaths of Black people. You think that is a factor too?
Well, I don't know whether during President Trump administration there have been too many deaths of Black people. I don't know that, because I know that
there are too many. I'm not comparing it with any other administration, but there are too many. Those ones that happen. That's what I'm saying.
But Black Lives Matter is a group that really doesn't represent every Black person. Most time when we're discussing the Black race in America, we think that they are kind of monolithic. Like almost everybody have the same way of thinking, they have the same brain. That's not true.
Right.
If you look at the way Black Lives Matter conduct herself and some of the things that she does and the way they go about, with the whole, many people describe it as the whole Marxist ideology, a lot of Black people themselves feel uncomfortable with that. When it comes to me, I always tell people about Dr. King. He's one of the Black men that I love to death. And I will ask myself, how did Dr. King go about conducting himself that make us to have the Civil Rights Act of 1964? How did he go about?
They are protesting, and Dr. King protested.
He did. But there are two different kind of protests. Dr. King, if you just look at the whole thing that happened, let's say, for instance, just take one instance on the March to Selma on that bridge, the one they call Bloody Sunday that occurred, There were always people in Dr. King camp and other people from outside who were Black who wanted them to become like vigilant force.
Even during Dr. King time, there were people in a very Black community that had some disagreement with him. There will always be disagreement. But
and I agree.
I am looking at his advocacy for Black freedom, for justice. I think it's the same thing that the Black Lives Movement is doing, even though, sometimes there can be some riot going on, and I don't think the Black Lives Matter people endorse that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, right now, you cannot even tell whether Black Life endorses or not, because Black Life does not condemn it. If Dr. King was here today, he will already condemn that, because he will tell you that this is a distraction to our goal.
The Black Lives Matter leadership has always condemned violence and always want people not to engage in violence.
Well, I haven't seen that yet.
We'll come back to you.
I haven't seen that yet. But I mean,
thank you.
just before you leave, go ahead.
No, you conclude.
Yeah. So for me, I do not really find the two groups to be the same. That is the group of Dr. King and the group of Black Lives Matter. They are not the same, because the group of Dr. King was so disciplined that there were many times where they had what Black Lives Matter would call an opportunity to go disgruntled, and they didn't do it because they knew they had a goal to achieve, and they did all they could to achieve that and gave us good legislation, like the Civil Rights Act, and Black Lives Matter, from the kind of route that they are taking, I doubt it if they will be able to achieve that or anything similar to that. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Maybe we are in different times, so maybe the approach may be different. I'm not justifying, but I'm just saying. Let me come to Mr. Zion here. So again, we're still talking about the polls. Is there any reason why we should believe these polls, or we shouldn't believe them now because we saw these same polls in favor of the Democrats, and then the result turns out to be different?
Thank you very much, Anthony. I think Obed who spoke. The polls are very, very much misleading. Okay. When you are conducting polls, there are a lot of external factors that influence the polls. Where are you conducting these polls? Which cities? Most of the polls that have been conducted are liberal cities, and these are big cities. Okay. They don't go to, all these rural areas and conduct polls. Now, most of these polls that they are conducting nowadays are cell phones or social media. Tell me who's on social media. How many times have you gone on Facebook and you try to do something and a screen pop up? We give your opinion on, Joe Biden and Trump. You find out that a lot of young people are on social media. Cell phones, they use the most to conduct polls. Okay? So for me, from 2016, even I will try to push a little back. All right? During Obama time, Obama run, you realize that there were a lot of polls that were, pushing guys like McCain. Back then, I was for Obama because of the same reason that Obed stated. Okay, he deviated from his promises. All right. So I honestly believe that these concocted polls that are being spread around are
why are you calling them concocted poll? Fox News is a pro Republican network. Even in Fox News polls, Joe Biden is up over 6 points, and my understanding is that those who participate in a Fox network polling, they are predominantly Republican. And let me put a piece in. The pool you're talking about, I want to agree with you. For me, the only pool I participate in is the one when they call me on my phone, I answer, I participate. But the one you see online, if you just ask me who you're voting for, but then they want to ask you another question and then another question. And then at the end of the day, they're asking you for money. So I always turn it down. So the pool does not capture everything. But let us not lose sight of the fact that these pools have some consistency in the past until last election. So why don't you think that can surface again?
Okay, in the educational arena, like take economics for example,
right?
They use polls, they use data from polls as a last result,
right?
You understand me? Because they know there are flaws in conducting polls. You talk about the array of questions that you have to go through to complete a single poll. Tell me how many of the older people will sit down and entertain themselves with someone asking them 4, 5, 6, 7 questions to answer. You understand me? That is that's a turn off right there. I have, received phone calls not related to elections, but they are doing polls there for health stuff or something and this and that. And just to get them off my phone, I answer whichever way I want to. That doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with them. And the sister spoke earlier. There is a huge silent majority voters in this America that we are in. And people do not know. And the assumption that the liberals and the Democrats also make is that every black is for Democrat.
But Mr. Zion, the silent majority you're talking about, I believe that. They are all non-Republican, though. Don't you think so?
No, I will agree with you. But there are things that within the Democratic Party that people are not talking about, and the liberals are not talking about. Twice they cheated Bernie Sanders. You understand me? It was revealed when Donna Brazil, the DNC chairman at the time, right? When they cheated Bernie Sanders, that caused a backlash. This year, it was even more vivid. You understand me? They cheated him again.
The old folks in suburbs and other places, they are all Republican voters. I don't want to believe that is the case. What is your take on that?
Well, I mean, there's some degree of truth to what he's saying. I'm not going to say that just because you're not on the news media that by default you're going to be a Republican person. But when you look at these news headquarters and where they're mostly based, they're mostly based in a lot of the liberal states. And it depends what you're watching. If you're watching CNN and you're watching some of the more liberal stations that for the past 4 years have spoken out against Donald Trump and his policies, you're going to be thinking and you're going to be jaded into thinking that the popular vote is where it lies and that the victory is leaning towards Trump getting out. But unfortunately, they're not covering a lot of America and a lot of these rural areas. More importantly, the southern states and the middle states, to which reflect otherwise that they believe that Trump is doing an excellent job, and it's just because of maybe a little mismanagement, but they still believe that no one is perfect. And I don't see where the Democrats have been able to convince them otherwise. So with that being said, definitely.
I mean, if the Democrats have not been able to convince them, has the Republican Party been able to convince them?
Well, the Republican Party doesn't need to convince anyone because their voting area and the folks that vote for them and the new ones coming on, they don't rely on the sole source of CNN and some of the most liberal channels. They look to other sources for the information.
Thank you, William King there. Folks in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. This is a panel discussion on the U.S. election. America votes tomorrow. Who's going to take the White House? Earlier, we played the Zombie song. Will it be Mr. Trump dancing zombie leaving the White House? Or will it be Joe Biden dancing the zombie and entering the White House? Obe is in the house. Zia is in the house. Jusu is in his house. Chuchu June is here. And my sister, she doesn't like me to say that. And Jackie is in the house. Jackie, let me come back to you. You are here and I'm still making this mistake, but it's okay. You will forgive me. So I listened to this gentleman and I'm intrigued to bring in the early voting numbers. Huge. Before we could come on air, I saw around 95 million Americans have voted. I have never heard that before. And according to these early voting results, from what the folks are telling us, Democrat or Joe Biden is having a significant lead. But the projection for those who will be voting on election day, Donald Trump is having a significant lead. How can you analyze that to tell which way the election will go? Jackie, unmute yourself.
Well, I think that those who went to do early voting, and I'm among them, we've already made up our minds, right? And we went to the polls because we felt like, first of all, I don't want to stand outside on November 3rd. It's snowing here, but they've made up their minds. I agree that November 3rd, there will be more people voting, and it may be that more people might be voting for Donald Trump. I still believe that Joe Biden will win. What I wanted to say when I was listening to Mr. Jusu and the others about Black Lives Matter and things like that, I'm always amazed. I read a very interesting article the other day in New York Times where when other Blacks come to the United States, we tend to say, well, we are educated. Oh, they're not talking about us. They're talking about the African Americans. When a police pulls you over, he doesn't ask you whether you came from Monrovia. he sees a black person. When Martin Luther King was marching, those were the strategies for that time. Yet, since Martin Luther King, hundreds of young people have died by police brutality. Well, obviously something is not working. I do agree that some people might vote for Trump because of, you know Maslow's 5 hierarchy of needs, right? Food, shelter, clothing, love, esteem. But then he reversed it, right? And he said there's transcendence. So transcendence, they want orderliness. They want certainty, right? So people see Black Lives Matter, and it's not all black people. There are a lot of whites who've joined the blacks, you know, but they say, oh, we want orderliness. And sometimes a tyrant will say to you, I will give you security. I will give you orderliness, but at what cost? At what cost? At the cost of the common good. And for me, I looked at it this way, Anthony. I said to myself, we have a common good, right? Globally, our common good is a community of nations. As a people, we want things to work in the world. So the United States helped to rebuild Europe after World War II, right? We have NATO, we have UN. That's the community of nations. That's the virtual bank, right? Then we have someone who come and say, no, 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 no. The world is not a community of nations. It's an arena where you fight, right? And may the best nation win. And then he starts to chip away at the common good. And what he chips away? UNESCO, UN, NATO. And these are things that uphold the common good. So I didn't just make my decision to vote Democrat because I'm like, oh, I want to vote. No, it was an informed decision based on what's happening at the time.
But Jackie, Jackie, if I may, these things that you just listed, how many ordinary Americans are paying attention to global issues when they go to the pool? They are looking at their kitchen table issues here in America. So with that, why you think that will kind of turn things in Joe Biden's favor?
But Dennis, that's what I said, right? You would have to vote for short-term security or long-term common good. Right. You would have to be the one to decide. Okay. I mean, our ancestors did not say, "Oh, you know, I just want to eat." They said, "I want my children to eat as well." I want. If people were only thinking of their table, there would be no fighting for the future. You eat, you die. It's done. You don't care about your family, but you must think about the future. You must think about the world. You know, it is almost like this. If you go out, Anthony, and somebody mugs you, right? And you come in your house, you close the door, and you're like, I'm never, ever going outside again because my security is where? Within these 4 walls where I stay, right? So that's orderliness, that's security. But let me tell you something. You become very strong. You become stronger when you open that door and say, you know what? I will not let it defeat me. I will go outside. So it's normal. During the terrorism, America pulled in. They said, no, we don't want this community of nations.
Jackie, my understanding is that here in America, while it's true we all talk about the issues, many people at the end of the day resort to sentiment in casting that ballot. It is sentiment plays a huge role, and people's sentiment, political alignment, kind of serve as a catalyst for their sentiment as to which way they go. So if you are a Republican, you are sentimental about Republican issue, and that what drives you to the poll. Don't you think that can be a factor to
not necessarily, Dennis? That's why I talked at the beginning about what is truth, right? What is truth? A Republican can say, you know what I see and what I know in myself as being truth. This is not truth. I have a neighbor down the street. I mean, I live in a place where, like I said to you, but I am shocked to see that all the way down the street, this lady has a Biden flag that is so large. I think you can find it in space. If you go up, you can see her flag, you know, but she was a Republican. What I am saying, Dennis, is that in order to vote, whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican or you're, can you see me?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. We can see you. Go ahead. You're fine.
whether you're a Democrat or Republican or an independent, right? You need to have that conversation with yourself. What is the truth that I hold? What is it that I want for the future that I may not get now? And then go to the polls and vote. Whether it's Democrat or Republican, I've listened to the others and I respect their views. But what I'm saying is be true to yourself. Don't look and say, oh, it's because there's violence in the Black Lives Matter. That is violence.
Thank you, Jackie. Don't forget about something they call alternative facts, alternative truth. And what may be truth to you might not be truth to the other person based on the
that's what I'm saying, Dennis.
thinking.
There must be a common truth that we hold dear. And when we don't have that commonality of truth, that's where the problems come in.
And that is the danger, and that's where we get divided because we don't see the common truth. Thank you, Jackie. Let me come to you, Obe. Obe, I want you to put up your analytical cap here. Let's talk about the battleground states a little bit. I'm giving you Florida. Is in play now, it's tied. Arizona is in play, it's tied. I mean, your home state, Texas, I'm not going to say the Democrat going to win it, but the fact that it's in play, North Carolina, that Trump won, is in play. Michigan, Wisconsin, these states are also in play. And according to the recent poll, Joe Biden has a little edge there. How you think Trump going to turn those things around in his favor, my friend?
I've lived here long enough to know that red states are red states. Okay? They will always be red states.
Okay.
Since Obama came close to winning Texas in his first term. He's very close. Okay? He just lost the vote by a few 100,000 some more votes. Red states will always be red states. So when the Labour leader say red states in play, like I said, like Jackie said, you have to wait for tomorrow. Okay? Don't believe anything the Labour media tell you right now. You got published based on rating. But what I just told you before, sir, Americans vote on what? Policies. Trump won Michigan. You know why? Because Michigan was one of the largest vehicle industries, right? They are closed now over there. And Trump promised them that he will bring them back. So right now, you think Trump will lose Michigan? He has brought back all those manufacturing. He kept his promises. Even though the car industry is not doing great right now, but the car industry in Michigan are operational. What about Wisconsin? Okay. Wisconsin economy was nearly there based on agriculture, the blue cheese and all that. China was what? Flooding this market. Okay, with cheap goods. Trump came back and made China to pay $28 billion and gave the money back to the farming countries like Wisconsin. So it was right in the media, people keep saying that Trump might win Wisconsin again. Not because, like I said, right now, the people looking for all going to that market. The Americans vote on policies. Not the judge don't vote because the Democrats. Why do black people do that? For some reason. A lot of several black people here, why do you vote Democrat? You know the response to me? Because my mom and dad used to vote Democrat. Okay? They do understand that elections is about politics.
And you think that every black person gives you that response?
Oh, dog, man, my people been voting Democrat by the time I was born, man. That's what they tell you. They do know that elections is about policy. So that's why Joe Biden was so brave to say, if you vote for me, you're not black. Because the Democrats feel that the white people feel that the white Democrats feel that they own the black vote. It's just a free slavery mentality they did. The free slavery mentality is just that now the slaves have become the electors. The Balaba has become the cattle farm. Okay? That's what they do. All right? It's just a system that just flip around. Okay? And then how back in the slave days, they had the black guys because the white guys used to mount the slaves and the slaves used to pretend that they run away. And then when they chased them, they killed them in the forest. That's what was happening. So now what the white people do?
I don't want to entirely agree that most black people don't know about policy, because if you look at the issue of justice, black people want justice, they want to be treated fairly. That's policy. Mm-hmm. All right? You're talking about healthcare. Black people in a greater majority always have a hard time getting better healthcare coverage. It's a matter of policy. They know that now we're talking about Obamacare and pre-existing conditions. Some of them getting a better deal. So they understand policy. It may not be to your understanding or the way you want it to be.
That's the media narrative they follow. What policy that Joe Biden has for them? Huh? What policy he got? You here, you are Democrat. Say Joe Biden won the nomination. What is explain the economic policy that you know of? There's none. There's none. You watch the United order. You cannot tell me that Joe Biden came on air and told the Americans the economic policy that Trump did. All right. Now, this is what the people are following.
No, Joe Biden has a policy. You can look it up on his website. He has a policy from economic to how to fight COVID, from healthcare. In America, Obe, do you rather want to believe that here in America that a Democratic Party candidate will not have policy, and you want to believe that?
What is the policy, though? What is the policy? I can lay it out two policies.
You don't know it. You don't know it. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
That's what I'm about to tell you. That's what I'm about to tell you. I'm going to give you the one, the first, the basic one. It has to do with the economy. Okay? With COVID-19 here now, the job market has been crippled. Your president, your candidate, said that you will not support fossil fuel. Okay, he said you will not support fossil fuel. He said when you become president, fossil fuel is dead. The vice president said it. He said it. Then during the debate, he flip-flopped. And then he challenged Trump to play the tape that he said that Trump played. And Trump keep playing on his campaign. Now, let me tell you the state that depends on oil, fossil fuel. Texas, Pennsylvania, that's in play right now. Okay, Alaska. Trump, he's going to lose all the three states because he said that he's going to shut down the oil industry. That means you will not drive. Well, you shut down the oil industry, so that means all cars are going to be electric cars, right? That means all cars. How is that possible? How do you shut down the oil industry with all the people in this country in your first 4 years? What's the economic plan to make people car drive? What, everybody going to be driving Tesla?
All right, thank you.
Everybody can afford Tesla?
Thank you, Obe, but I'm very sure you are aware that Joe Biden has policy on every major issue, just as Trump himself does. And the issue is that where if you're talking about policy, where is the Republican health care? You know, from the time of John McCain, they've been talking about the Republican plan. We have not seen the Republican plan when it comes to healthcare. They have none. All Toronto will be a beautiful healthcare, and we never see it. But let me come to Jusu. Jusu, let me take you to the demographics. Let's look at women, men, the young voters, and that come to blacks, the Hispanics, and the Asian. From the polling, we see that Joe Biden, again, is leading with most of the young people, especially the college-educated women, the college-educated men with the college-educated ones. On the flip side, Trump is leading with the other demographic. You think Trump going to turn things around and win this thing?
Well, I will answer that question, but let me just go back to what the sister said earlier when she started talking the second time.
Okay.
On the position of people who don't support Black Lives Matter, and her interpretation is that when we come from Africa, maybe we think that we are better off than the people here, so we kind of, we don't identify with them in a way. Mm-hmm. If you look at the history of African Americans and African, you see that even from the African American side, they are always skeptical of African. We don't want to make that very formal. We don't want to make that an issue here. But I just want to clarify that most of us who think independently, we don't take sides because of skin color. We take sides because of issues. And like most of the people here agree, issues that affect us. I refuse for anybody to look at me and tell me the reason, if I'm not voting for him, it means that I'm not Black enough to make my melanin an issue for his vote. That in itself is slavery. And we all know that the Democrat is the party of slavery, The thing here is that Africa, we are very traditional and conservative people. Even if we don't want to believe that, I could go into our social dynamics and the way we handle issues, When we come here, it's like a cultural shock for most of us. And so we take our time to kind of navigate the system to see where we can really fall on. Of course, most people will come in and say, I'm a Democrat. Like the brother was saying, if you ask people, why are you a Democrat? People can even give you a straight answer. I would just give you something to maybe laugh about. I asked a lady, why are you a Democrat? The lady told me the reason she's a Democrat is because NDPL in Liberia, the National Democratic Party of Liberia. I'm like, is that the reason you're a Democrat? So you'll be very surprised.
How can you find somebody who is a Democrat or a Democratic voter or supporter giving you a clumsy reason, can you also find a clumsy reason that anybody who supports a Republican, the Republican Party will give, or there's none on the Republican Party, a supporter who has no idea why they support the Republican Party? Are you trying to tell me that there's nobody?
When people, I've not seen, because you don't really find people identifying as Republican, not because they are not Republican, but because they kind of shy away from the kind of bullying they're going to experience in the midst of, all these people who identify as Democrats. So they kind of shy away. And that's where the whole issue of silent majority comes in.
And why you think will somebody feel that they will be bullied for, supporting a party that they cared about?
Because they have labeled this party as being a racist party. They say the people in this party are racist, even though they cannot prove it. But they tell people that if you identify as Republican, you identify with a group of racists, which is not true, But let's not dwell there. So I just wanted to clarify that to this.
Something that's kind of, you can't just wax eloquent over that one, because are you trying to tell me that the Republican in Texas, in Georgia, they are apologetic? Obed, in your great state of Texas,
they are apologetic for what?
Will they tell you, or will they shy away from telling you that they're Republicans or not?
No, we are talking about Africans. We're just talking about a small group of people.
Africans. I'm talking about
because they feel protected. They feel very protected. They are in this huge conservative base where they interact with people at church, in the community, in our HOAs, and everywhere else they go. They got people who are
I'll bring my question back. I want to know from you, are all Republican supporters aware why, or do they know why they support the Republican Party? All of them? Because you made a big news here that there are some people that support the Democratic Party without having an idea as to why.
Yes. Most Republican supporters from a minority group, they are a very informed supporter, because it takes a lot of courage for them to even come out. So what they do is that they study the issues, and they want to know why will I even be different from all the other people around me, and they come out and they identify.
I don't want you to split the apple. Splitting the apple, I don't want you to split it. I want you to tell me whether or not all of the people that support the Republican Party, they all know why they support the Republican Party. Because you said there are some people that support the Democratic Party that have no idea whatsoever why they support the Democratic Party.
But then you're splitting the issue, because if you ask me all,
that was your statement. That was your statement.
No, I didn't say all. I told you that I've had conversation with some people, and I gave you just a typical example of the response that somebody gave me.
Right.
I haven't had any conversation with anybody who identifies as a Republican and they didn't have a reason why they identify as a Republican.
All right.
I was just clarifying to my sister earlier, who said that when we come here, because I think earlier she heard me say, I do not, I was comparing MLK with BLM, movement. And I said that ideologically, I may not agree with them. And she was like, oh, well, most time when Africans come into this country, it seems that we do not identify with the African-American struggle. Maybe we think we are better off because we are more educated and that kind of stuff. No. And I said, I independently choose where I go based upon ideology, not based upon skin color. So let me go back to your demographic. No, you asked me a question about demographic.
Yes, please.
So
1 minute.
Okay. All right. So the entire thing about demographic comes back to the whole pooling stuff that everybody else have been talking about.
Right.
These pools, it seems that they are falling short of being scientific, number one. Number two, the condition on which...
Since when? Since when?
Well, we all have a reference point right now as far as we know.
Only
4 years ago.
2016, right?
Only. That was a big deal.
I'm asking you a question. Only 2016,
that was a big
right?
deal. That was a big deal. And that's why many people are referencing it these days, because that's the earliest, that's the latest that we know about to make a decision from.
Right.
And then we all here have already acknowledged that these pools don't reach a lot of people, because those people, they are all in the metro areas. They are calling people with cell phone. They are on the internet. And you got a huge population in this country that are not on cell phone and internet. So you cannot come up with a scientific pooling and say that you are sampling a whole demographic or the whole population, and you just take certain people who have access to certain devices and come up with a conclusion. That in itself is very skewed. You cannot do that.
Thank you, Jusu. Thank you so very much. Let me come to the man, Alice Chuchu Jones. Mr. Jones, my question for you is, let's look at the culture of Democratic voters and Republican voters when it comes to voting over the years. I want to know, when does the Republican Party win with their voters, and when does the Democratic Party win uh, with their voters? You are on mute, Chuchu Jones.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have any scientific proof. I
Right.
think it's all subjective.
Mhm.
But what I do know, listening to the pundits, is that whenever the Democrats have a real strong candidate,
Mhm.
like Bill Clinton,
Right.
right, Obama, the Democrats turn up, okay, and they win big time. And when they have a weak candidate like an Al Gore, right, or Joe Biden, they generally don't win elections. And you can see that even in the states, and you can see that at the local level. So it's all about, I think, the personality of the candidate for the parties.
Yeah, that's
Now,
the question
for the
I'm about to
Republican
ask you. When you say strong candidate, what is your interpretation or definition of a strong
uh,
candidate? Because
the
Joe
strong
Biden, I see
candidate,
he's in the 70s. I don't see strength. So what is strength for you?
not physical strength, but popular candidate, populist. So
Okay.
you're looking at people who the media have a huge media coverage, like again somebody like a Bill Clinton who was a governor. There's a lot of controversies surrounding him. He's very eloquent. He can articulate the issues to both, the middle class and the poor, because the demographic is showing that the blacks, what you call the underprivileged, are overwhelmingly Democrats in America. Okay, middle class and below, whereas the people who make a lot of money are the ones who are Republican or at least vote. And this has to do with even somebody like farmers. So if you go by income and you look at you look at how many people who vote Republican and what their income is. So the person might be a farmer, but they're making $200,000, $300,000 a year. They normally vote Republican. And that is because Republican gives a lot of tax cuts to people of that category. They give a lot of business owners. And overwhelmingly, blacks do not own a lot of businesses. Blacks do not have overwhelmingly corporation. Okay. Blacks are usual middle class, even not even high factory workers. So it
Mr.
takes
Jones,
some.
let me bring in the issue of timing. Timing matters in election. We saw the time Obama came in. It was a good time. The issue of race in America, we can't dismiss it. We all have experienced it to the greater extent. Obama being black, Republican had their second term. There was war. Americans were tired with that war in Iraq. And then this young man stepped in. Some people said that time you were right. It was not more so about he being eloquent or being a younger candidate, and being kind of exciting candidate. Some people are making the argument that the timing has so much to do with it. Do
Oh,
you agree with
absolutely.
that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
If Obama were ran in 2016, I don't think he would have, or run now this year.
Mhm.
I doubt that he would have had the same kind of popularity
Mhm.
as he once did. First of all, you were in one of the greatest recession. That was the housing crisis.
Right.
You had two wars going on, where many of the victims of those wars were low income people, whether Hispanic or black people, right? That were are the ones. Huge foreclosures around the country affecting. And then at the same time, you had a lot of big Wall Street firms and a lot of the rich got richer. And that's why I want to ask my brother here, Jusu and Obed, what do they mean by conservative? They believe in conservative ideas, because I don't know what they mean by that. All right, do they think that it means free market? Because they would be absolutely wrong. Most of the big corporations in America, the ExxonMobil, they're supported by tax breaks. They're supported by funding from the government. They're not operating as a on a free market basis. And we see the same thing what they do in these African countries. They take advantage of these countries right? Not because it's a free market,
Mhm.
but because they have a big government behind them that support them. So I think you guys are
Thank you, Mr.
misguided
Jones. Thank you, Mr.
completely
Jones.
about what
And
you're
Mr.
trying
Jones,
to do.
that's a very fair point there, and I like that you bring that up. This conservative thing with Georgia over and over. Look at these guys are conservative, and Trump gave them a huge tax cut. I mean, so the opposite of what you call welfare for big corporation? Is that what
It's
they call?
welfare.
I mean, I read it. I really don't get it. But let me bring Mr. Zion in. We still talking about the way Democratic voters and Republican voters vote. The culture here, from what I'm being told, is that Republican, what is the word, are very faithful when it comes to voting. They don't
That
care
was a hot
about.
issue, but brother, why would you just let it go like that? You know,
I think that the men respond, Anthony.
The,
I think they're misguided on what
that was a
conservatism
hot
is
issue. The
or
brother
what
just
free
told us
market
that we
is.
are a group of misguided
I mean,
people
when
who
it's
don't
your
even know.
time, you will come in. Let me leave my premise. We are still
Go
on the
ahead, go ahead,
culture,
go ahead,
the
go ahead.
culture
Yeah.
of voting. Some people believe that those who vote are Republican voters, they are very faithful when it comes to voting. But despite they being faithful, there have been times Democrats have won elections. So I mean, is this one of the faithful year?
Anthony, thank you very much. I will first start with what my brother was saying, and somehow I think you guys kind of misconstrue what he was saying in terms of the Democratic or the liberals.
Mm-hmm.
I have encountered the same thing, especially within the African community. They believe they follow too much sensational news. And who have the sensational news in America? The liberals. So they do not really dive into issues. Like on countless of times when I'm having conversation with them,
Mr. Zia,
talk to
how
me.
about the Republican, the Fox
Mhm.
News and other pro-Republican news outlets? They don't
Yeah,
sensationalize at all?
to some extent. To some extent, but the liberals are like, I mean, they exaggerate everything you can think about. All right, and that if you feed yourself, okay. Now I'm gonna tell you that I do
Yeah,
not just get my
give me a
news from.
few examples. Give me a few
I do not just
examples.
get my news. I do not just get my news from facts.
Mhm.
All right. The example that I'm going to give you is the liberals are so. I mean, they are thinking is that at this point Joe Biden has won. They do not have in their psyche that there's a possibility that Donald Trump will win this thing. I mean, a level of intolerance. Once
Yes.
you look at a Democrat,
What is the intolerance? Joe Biden,
thank you.
like
No,
Trump, is
no,
campaigning for every vote. The
no, no,
Democrats
no.
are all over the
Exactly.
place. I mean, if they were
The level
so
of intolerance,
sure that this thing is really done, then they will sit
okay,
home. Hmm.
Anthony, the level of intolerance that I'm talking about,
Hmm.
it is okay for liberals to tell you in your face that they are liberals and this and that. But the moment, especially within our African supporting Donald Trump, all of a sudden you are the demon, you are evil. I mean, they cannot comprehend why you are supporting Donald Trump.
It's the people
But
you
then
talk to.
when you try to give them policies, which of course Ove was talking about earlier, look, we
And
that
Mr. Zion, you
decided
think
to
you think
support
all Democrats say those
the
things or
Republican
do those
Party,
things?
we base
Zion,
our
hold on, Zion. And do you think all Democrats or Democratic supporters say those things or do those things? And don't you think on the other side, the Republican side, there are some people that do similar things? Don't you think
thank
so?
you very much for that question. I wouldn't be that naive to say that there are no Republicans who may be somehow naive about issues.
Mhm.
Okay, but I'm going to tell you because it's very prevalent in the African community, and this is the reason why we have countries that we have, because people vote on emotions instead of issues, and this is why Africa is so messed up. You understand me? So
All right.
some of us who came here,
Mhm. Yeah, please
we
conclude in 30
I was
seconds.
I was once harboring the ideology of the Democrats. Okay, they stood for what they presented as they care for people. No, that's a slavery mentality that they have propagated for years and have enslaved people in this country. And people are waking up. So the blacks that you are talking about in America, the black Americans are waking up. So many of them.
Thank you. Let me come to Mr. King. William, you've been here long enough. You know the way Democratic voters and Republican voters always vote in election. People say that there's always this fatigue at some point on the Democratic voter side, but with the Republican, they are ready to go. They're always on their heels. And we having is election now where you see this sharp contrast between the two candidates. And you see that both sides are excited with the Democratic Party voters being so excited like this to vote, as evidenced by the early voting and all that. Don't you think they're going to put a victory, and you think Trump going to turn things around as he did in 2016?
Well, when I hear the questions, I am a little bit concerned, and the reason why is because popular vote. I think Joe Biden stands a very high chance of winning the popular vote. However, the game that is being played is the electoral votes. And I think Texas, if I'm not mistaken, they gained 4 more electoral college votes for this voting term. And also population wise, sure, New York, New York, California, some liberal states, like I said, you don't have to worry about them and their ideologies and what they believe, how they feel, and different things like that. However, I just don't see a strong enough convincing message from candidate Biden to win some of those swing states that's going to be critical. I just don't see it. And it's not that, to Jackie's point about the Maslow hierarchy of needs, and then you kind of reverse it. I understand that. It's what we're dealing with is that there's a fear with what happened with the from the social injustices. Folks recognize that there was a lot of social injustices. Now the trick is for Biden is, has he convinced enough people that he is the person to fix those social injustices? Has he convinced enough people? And I don't think he has convinced a significant enough people in those swing states that he is the person to fix that problem. And I think most people will lean towards Donald Trump in those states that's undecided, because they just believe that he's the one to better get the job done. Now, you can't argue with that. If you were New York and California, it's very difficult. But I have not seen someone from the red state say, hey, you know what? I kind of see Biden's has a couple of points here and there. I haven't seen any of that.
All right, thank you, Jackie. This is what we're going to do. Time is fast spent. We planned this thing for an hour and 30 minutes. We got 1 hour 20 minutes already. So our final question now will be on the prediction, and for prediction here, we want to look at who's going to win. I know you said Joe Biden going to win, but there will be your final argument. And let's talk about the Senate too. Any prediction, and then the House of Representatives. Any prediction? The Democrat going to keep the House? Are they going to take the Senate? And why the reason why you are making this prediction, Jackie?
Okay, Anthony, thank you. I mean, thank you for inviting me. I'm not here to talk about feelings and this. I want to deal in facts. Fact number 1, you said that whether Joe Biden would make any significant change. I would like to draw your attention to Lyndon Johnson. If you remember, they had the GI Bill. And the GI Bill was only for white soldiers. They were, when they came back from the war, what did they do? They got funding to buy house. They got the houses, and that's how they build their wealth, right? Your daughter wants to go to college, you have a mortgage, you pay the mortgage, your daughter goes to college. So they had wealth in their homes. The blacks were denied that. But when Lyndon Johnson came in after and John F. Kennedy died, when they thought he wouldn't do anything, he brought the Fair Housing Act. So which means blacks were able to own houses, and then they got some wealth and were able to move forward. My thing is, the Electoral College, all we all know is about representation, and it was the slave states who were very afraid that they would not be counted, so they wanted the electoral votes. We know that. My fear is for the continent of Africa. Somebody said in one of the chats, like, oh, why are we talking about this? I am extremely interested in this election for Africa. We've seen what Trump has said about the Ethiopian dam, right? And no one, he's going to side with Egypt. We know that. The Nile River goes from Uganda to 6 different African countries before it goes to Egypt. Egypt is the last riparian country. It is not their water. Now, if you're going to vote, you start thinking about things like that. Is he going to back Egypt? What does that mean? Are they going to go back to the 1948 agreement? My thinking here is that I want African countries to stand on their own. Not every time America sneezes, Liberia catches a cold. But I think that the only way we can stand on our own as Africans and Liberians is for us to become stronger independently. And why I say that? Because I think that Trump, like I said before, is an arena. He's here to fight. We need a global community of nations, that support each other, but strengthen each other to be on their own. So I think that I hope that Biden wins. I hope, and I look forward to a stronger Africa, a stronger Liberia. And I want to thank you very much. And I think that the Democrats will take the Senate, because there's no use getting the White House if we cannot get the Senate. Thank you.
All right, thank you so very much. Obe, we are wrapping things up here. So reasons for your prediction, and if you think Trump going to win the White House again, if you think the Republican going to keep the Senate, and whether or not the Democrat going to keep the House, and why are your reasons? Obe, we can't hear you. Like you are on mute at your end. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, 2 pass bill.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Coronavirus Preparedness Act that passed in March, that your labor newspaper doesn't report, is $8.2 billion. Okay, the First Family Response Act, which is a medical bill, is $2 trillion. It's signed that in March as well. Okay, now when I want to go verify that, okay, I'm trying to get all the bill listed. All right, and then that's why he passed in March. Okay, your labor media, they didn't report this. Now, let me leave that yet. I'll come to the last 2. And then I will tell you that Trump was the first president, not Obama, who passed the first step after releasing black people from prison, people with minor offenses, to reestablish into the society. Trump did that. Obama didn't do that. Joe Biden had 47 years in that place. He did not do that. He became vice president. So Obama, he said they didn't do this. Then the historical black college, we all heard about that. I don't know if you heard about it. The black colleges had to go lobby for funds to keep the colleges running. Okay, it was Trump who passed an executive order because the Democrat Congress could not pass the bill for them. They accused Trump of trying to peddle to black voters, so they did not pass that bill. Trump had to pass executive order for the historical black colleges. Now, so when they pass the annual bill in Congress, the black colleges are included. Obama didn't do that in 8 years. Joe Biden was vice president to Obama. He didn't do that in 8 years. Now, the Black Owned Program will allow us the national anthem. We all know that. Look, my vote for Trump is based on the economy and the treatment of black people here as a whole. Okay? And the reason for that is the Republican history has always been that. The 13th Amendment passed to abolish slavery was passed by Republicans. Okay? The 14th Amendment to make black people citizens was passed by Republicans, because if you are not citizen, you can't vote. So the fact that you're voting now, the Republican Party did that. Okay? Then the 15th Amendment, your right to vote. Black people right to vote. They passed an amendment that made black people right to vote called the 15th Amendment, which gives you your right to vote. Had it not been the Republicans that passed that bill, you won't be voting here today.
So will they amend the 13th Amendment also?
What?
Will they amend the 13th Amendment that says that when you are incarcerated, you can work for no wages? Did you read the 13th Amendment? Maybe they should amend that too.
If there's flaw in it, if you put it before to amend it. But boy, I'm just trying to tell you the right that you have now, that you smiling or happy that you're a Democrat, this is where it came from.
It didn't come from Republicans, sir. It did not come from Republicans.
But these are the amendment that was passed that gave you the right to vote. It wasn't Democrat.
So was it a Republican Congress? All of those things were from Republican Congress. No Democrats were involved in it.
When I say it was denied.
All of it?
It was denied by Democrats. Denied. They filibustered it for 72 days. But the Republicans stood firm. It passed. Even the abolition of slavery, it was passed in 1864. The Republicans filibustered it. It did not pass until 1865 when the Republicans gave up and it passed. Republicans did that. You need to read your history.
That's not my history, sir. That's not my history. That's not my history. My history is in Plebo, Maryland. But I thank you.
But why are you voting? People want to. That's why I thought about the record. I started with how we all get to vote.
Yeah, Obe, you are going into history, and we said we're not going to go into too much policy because that would make it a little more debatable. Election is tomorrow. We want to look at the numbers and discuss on the surface. So you are making your closing argument. Why you think Trump's going to win if they're going to keep the Senate and if they're going to take away the House. So please conclude in 1 minute.
My closing statement. Trump has passed 4 bills for the coronavirus that your Liberia newspaper did not report. 2 trillion bill, 118 billion bill, and 500 million bill. Your neighbor all passed in March. You did not hear that. Maybe you just hear it from me. Go to the website, Google, you see it there. They call them what? The Coronavirus Preparedness Act, the First Family Act, and I had to go find the other one. And the First Choice Act, all passed by Trump. Okay? Obama did not do that. That's what I want you to get. This is why black voters are voting for him. And now the big one is the First Step Act that released black people from prison. Obama didn't do that. Joe Biden was for the 7 years in Congress, did not do that. He was a vice president, did not do that. This is the part right here, the First Step Act. That's how drawing black people to Trump. Like I said, the people are voting on politics. Not because you are black, you should be Democrat.
Thank you, Obed.
We all know that.
Thank you, Obed. Mr. Chuchu Jones, quickly, I know you made your prediction that Joe gonna win. This is your final argument on your predictions. So what's about the Senate? Is the Democrat gonna flip the Senate? And are they gonna keep the House of Representatives? You are on mute. Please unmute yourself and speak.
I think the Senate is going to stay in the hands of the Republican, and the House of Representatives will stay in the hands of the Democrats, and the Democrats will win the election. But I just want to read a short phrase here by Mark Twain. And it says, in religion and politics, people's belief and convictions are in almost every case guarding at second hand and with all examination. And the reason I want to read that is because I hear people that obey and other people who they take a little bit of piece of fact or news coverage, and with all examination, looking at the issues clearly, and they perpetuate that. And to me, that's just fair. That's just ignorance. You cannot tell me the what you call the healthcare bill that Obama put to the House of Representatives for universal healthcare. In fact, Hillary Clinton tried a universal healthcare for everybody in America who did not have money to have some form of coverage. The Republican denied that. So are you saying now that because Trump gave some waiver to people who have served, some of which were convicted on crimes like non-violence crimes like possession of 1 gram of marijuana? So that's not a fair analysis. People talking about these things are tokens when it comes to the living standard in America, the disproportionate income gap in America, when it comes to the billions of dollars that's been given to the top 3% in America. every tax break. Even when you go to the coronavirus relief program, Bernie Sanders has to threaten the whole entire bill for them to give private workers whom were mostly minority and women $600 a week. The Republican did not want to do that, but the Republican was giving billions of dollars to the bank that they didn't even need. So let's be factual. But I want to thank you guys, and hopefully we can come back where we can go into more deeper issues, because I think Sister Jackie here, I think she has it on the money. What are Joe Biden win or Trump win? The issue to me is Africa, it's about Liberia. I can care less about who wins the election in America. And I think when it comes to that, we should be more conscious about what's going on and how everything affect us. And when you have a guy like Trump or anybody in the White House, where you have a recent report where over $800 million every year is being stolen all of Africa. Okay, that is a United Nations report. So hopefully we'll have more time and we can have these discussions. But I just think that people should not just use words like I'm a conservative or free market because it's completely taken out of context. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. Let me throw my democratic shot. The free market you're talking about is giving tax breaks to huge corporations, and they think that the trickle-down economics will come to the ordinary man. That doesn't work. It's similar to voodoo economics. I'm throwing a punch there, Obe. I don't know whether you will go for it. But I come to Jusu. Jusu.
Let me go for it. Can I go for it real quick?
I kind of like
No,
the way.
hold on. Let Jusu speak for it. Obe, hold on. I will give you time to talk about that. Jusu, go ahead.
I kind of like the way the brother before me, gave his issues. Like, what I was there since Trump took over is that everything that doesn't go right in America that having gone on for I don't know how many years, Trump is the problem. Trump is the one that making everything happen, to the extent that Trump is blamed for even things that happen in Africa. You and I know that the free market, the people who really invest into the free market in terms of policies to make the free market, of course, not to roll are conservative with Republicans anyway. So when you're talking about low taxes, we're talking about economic incentive. Those things are not just given to people because we love them. Those things are given to people with the intent of creating jobs. And when jobs are created, who benefit? Minorities benefit. Let's put that one side. Like the brother said, we'll come back another time to be able to talk about that. As far as the Senate and the House, I believe that the Republicans are going to keep the Senate. The House, there may be some surprises. I don't know. Just for instance, if you see there's a girl running in the 7th district in Baltimore area, Kimberly Classic. She's been doing an incredible job, and she is really going up in the pool, getting a lot of money and doing some stuff. Let's go back to the Senate side. You see this guy, Jimmy, from South Carolina. He's really giving
a woman, please, not a girl, a woman.
Okay, a woman. Okay.
Yes, a woman.
Okay.
Take a correction, a woman, not a girl.
Okay, a woman. Kimberly Classic, a woman. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. All right. Jimmy from South Carolina is giving Lindsey Graham a run for his money, and those are things that could flip. And even in Arizona, the astronaut Kelly, showing some very good showing. So we can never tell how it goes, but whatever the case may be, we know that even if they did good showing in those one or two places, the Republican, I believe they will still keep the House, and the Republican will keep the Senate, Democrat will keep the House. But there will be some surprises tomorrow, a lot of surprises, I believe. It's not over until it's over. So
thank you. It's not over until over. Mr. Zia, quickly,
yes.
What's your take? Who's going to keep the House? Who's going to keep the Senate?
Well, I just want to say, Mr. C, before I give my analysis, is that you shorthanded us. You should talk, but don't talk about issues, policies. When you know very well, we Republican, we base our conversations on issues and analyzing issues. What Brother Obe was reading earlier, just today, I went on the CBO of on their webpage, which is the Congressional Budget Office, right? Mm-hmm. And things that you talk about, they are there. Those are facts. Because I heard the brother who spoke before Juju saying that we take a little bit of fact and then we'll put it out there, we'll magnify and propagate it. No, sir. These are facts that you can verify. Okay, so this Trump man has done a lot, and that's the reason why I believe, based on his record, on his policy, he's going to win. As far as the Senate and the House of Representatives goes, I'll be honest with you, I'm not really following it a lot as compared to my day-to-day analysis of the presidential, activities.
Okay.
So I would say whoever whatever happens on the third, hopefully on the fourth we'll find out. But I'm kind of leaning that the Republican will maintain the Senate.
All right, thank you, Mr. King. Time is fast spent. 1 minute. Who's gonna take the Senate and who's gonna take the House?
Look, Senate is going to be Republican. The House is going to be Democrats. Like Jusu said, I think there's going to be some surprises. I'm definitely looking at the Baltimore one. I believe that in that space, I think something surprising is going to happen. I don't know what it is, but that lady, her message is very, very, very strong because developments are challenged. Thank you.
All right, folks, let me do this. I'll read comment quickly, and then I'll come back to you for 30 seconds closing. Maybe I'll get over a minute because I throw in a bit and you want to jump on it. Let me read a few comments here quickly. Angel, I'm watching with my beautiful people who care about Liberia. Miss Technology, leave me alone. All right, Miss Justina Taylor, she said, I'm here. How will she not be here? But I'll keep that as classified. Obey, I'm not talking to you. This one is from Sonny, watching from Indianapolis, USA. Tambasala, Liberian Republicans. Seriously? That person is asking a question. This one is from Abraham. Your Republican then will stay long inside Wednesday morning. This one is from Massaquoi, Abraham Massaquoi. Don't bang on what happened. Don't bang on what happened in 2016. Trump is going down. So this is Thomas. Thomas writes, an independent conservative. Ha ha ha. That's a new one. That person is not buying that. You want to be Republican, be Republican. This one is from Philip Bala. Black percentage is very low to make anybody a president in America. Enough of this black vote. That person is making the case. Comfort Henry writes. And plus, technology. Leave me alone. Let me use my phone then. Sorry, folks. Francis K. Weafer, do you know that the vice has limitation in the decision? I don't know what I mean by the vice has limitation in decision-making process. Maybe talking about vice president. I don't understand when you guys say Joe was in government 47 years. Joe was in Congress. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't do all that you listed. All right, this one is from Ansu Tenga. That's wrong, Mr. Speaker. The U.S. democracy has some great impact on the whole world, not only Africa. Few comments, folks. Let me come back to you. Obe, I will start with you because I want to give you a minute to close. But your closing time for all of you is 30 seconds. I'm giving Obe a minute because I threw a bid and I have to give him the opportunity. Obe, quickly.
Hey, first of all, let me talk to Chuchu, man. He's a young man. When he's throwing out his ideas, he should stay away from all these inflammatory languages, calling somebody ignorant, and that's not good. Yeah, you call us ignorant.
No, I did not. No, I did not. Please do not misquote me.
Yeah, Chuchu, you will respond when it's your time. So go ahead, Obe.
Everybody has heard that. You can't be doing that. Now, I already told you when we Republican, when we talk based on policy. We do not talk based on sentiment. Okay, it just went out of my head what you just said I'm supposed to address, but I've laid out everything that Trump has done for my black community, the African American community, which I think warrant his re-election. That Obama did not do, that Joe Biden for the 7 years, our vice president did not do. So this is clear cut. And I also believe that in the House,
the bit that true was that this conservative thing you guys talking about.
Okay.
Free marketing is about giving huge tax breaks to the corporation, hoping that will trickle down, and it does not work. That's why that was the bit I threw. So go for it.
Yeah, okay. All right, now. To be a conservative is to keep the old system. Now, the old system in terms of politics, okay, communism, socialism, and democracy, free market capitalism, that's what conservatism means. It means let's keep our system. It's not like the Democrats who try to bring in socialism. So conservatism means what would that now? Let's keep it. And conservatism believes in free market capitalism. Because if you keep the capitalist system, you have also increased the chances of the market. Now, you have to get it, sorry, very quickly. You have to give the corporations tax breaks because they hire you. Now, if you overcharge them, what they're going to do? They're going to take that business and move it to another country. Then you get out of job. So the best way to do is capitalism is a form of bribery because corporation massive profit. So you give them little tax and then they hire more people, which boosts the economy. That's why the whole tax break for rich is for.
We'll have a whole different show on that, Obe. So use your 30 seconds to close, brother. We will reach out to you, please.
All right. Yeah, so that's that, man. It's an honor talking to you guys, but when you bring us on, just make sure that get all your facts ready. When you want to throw something, I will read the facts like I was reading it to you.
Yeah.
Like my brother told you, should get a website for it. Do just come here and talk. If you say Joe Biden policy, present the policy that how we present our policy. We just don't want to be in no talking mood. But it was a nice time with you guys, man. It's an honor meeting every one of you. Zion, Miss Jackie, my first time seeing you, and my brother King, my first time seeing you.
Obe, you and I been interacting. I have not seen you for such a long time, and this is Zion from our CDC days. So this is me.
Got you.
Yeah.
Thank you, moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Obe, and we appreciate you accepting our invitation. All right, who's next to close?
I will close. I'll go, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
So thank you, Mr. C. Free enterprise, free market, as we we always call it, is the market or the enterprise setting prices of products and whatever, not government influencing stuff, right? And in such a market, you have the individual have the right.
That whatever I give that bid and you're going for I want you to use your 30 seconds to wrap this thing up. We gotta go.
Okay, yeah, all right, then I'll leave that. Talking about the impact of the politics in the United States affecting Africa. Yes, it's true. You know what? The Democrats before 2016, if you ever heard this guy called Muammar Gaddafi, this guy earmarked $30 billion for Africa development. All right. What did they do? What did Obama do? He went after Gaddafi because of that $30 billion.
You are opening a Pandora box. I don't want to entertain that. I'm not trying to control you, but we are closing. We are closing. Halle been a Republican to have killed Gaddafi. You Republican would be celebrating and be talking that he was the devil. So please close. Who's going to win this thing? Please close. Who's going to win this thing?
I'm not talking about killing. We're talking about Africa development.
Now that I know you guys, I will bring you here for politics. Please close. Who's going to win this thing?
My closing is Trump is going to win, and Trump have a global idea, but different mindset that the global market is a playing ground, and they want to have the strength to control the market will win. And that is the ideology that I buy. And that's the reason why he's going to win.
Thank you. And Jusu, 30 seconds to close.
I think we've seen a lot of phenomenon lately, especially when as it comes to gun sales, they are skyrocketed among all demographic groups. For the first time, they are skyrocketed among the blacks. People are anticipating this thing about civil war, and I've been talking to folks and telling them you don't know what civil war is. You don't even want to bring it upon you, So I think we should just pray that, everything will go well tomorrow. People will be able to just vote. This is a democratic process to go and vote and go home and wait for the result. And it's over. People go back to work. I want to thank you for the opportunity, for giving us the space for us to interact as Liberian, to give our own thought on what is obtaining here. But like most of the people say, including the first woman who spoke. What's her name again?
Jackie.
Our first Jackie and the other brother. Liberia, we still have to be emancipated. You know, it's like our entire lifeline is in the hands of other people. So we all pray that things go well so that we all can be able to just move on with life.
So Chuchu Jones will be dancing Zambi tomorrow. You on mute, brother. Hey, you on mute, sir. Go ahead. We can't stay here, you Chuchu Jones. What did you do again?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead now. Go ahead.
Wonderful. So I want to thank everybody. I think this was a very, very good, insightful discussion. And I hope that, I want to thank Focus on Liberia for organizing it. I hope that we'll see more of these kinds of discussion rather than George Lobo coming running around with no facts and stuff. So, but let me just point to Joe Biden. Joe Biden, healthcare, yes, his policy, Mr. Obed. Support public health insurance option, taxes, reduce taxes for poor and middle class to increase their wealth, foreign policy, multilateral approach, promote human rights throughout the world, criminal justice, shift away from retributive approach, support community police program, immigration, allow citizenship for dreamers, shift away from aggressive immigration approach. So again, that's some of the things that you came here and said Joe Biden does not have a policy. I just read 5. So I think we have to substantiate what we say. And I did not, like I said, even if I did say someone was ignorant, I mean in the context they don't know that subject or that stuff. But again, I just want to close by saying I think it was a wonderful discussion. And Ms. Jackie, I was very impressed with your insight. And so is my brother, Mr. Zion, and Obed, and everybody else on the panel. Again, I look forward to talking to you guys in the future.
Mr. King, you are on mute. Who's going to be dancing Zambi tomorrow?
Well, like I said, and I could be very wrong. I'm not sure if hold on one second, please. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if Biden has done enough, and I could be very wrong, to convince some of those swing states. So really, that's where I think maybe things lie. And my thoughts on Trump is that this guy, he's a fighter, and if you look at all of the executive orders or some of the acts that he has passed, he will use his pen to do what he needs to do to either gain voters or to make them stay at home. And so that's very powerful. But I really, the social injustice thing, I don't think that he's someone that I felt comfortable with in that leadership role with his approach to it. So I hope it's someone other than him, than President Trump. But it's going to be a tough call. Thank you.
All right. Jackie, 30 seconds.
Okay, first of all, I would like to say that this thing about Obama killed Gaddafi, I just want to make it clear. Nigeria and South Africa were temporary members of the Security Council at the time, and they voted for it. Had they not voted, the Security Council would not have gone ahead. So Africans betrayed other Africans and voted. So if you want to know who killed Gaddafi, look at South Africa and Nigeria. My parting comments would be that, the Native American saying, the left wing and the right wing, they're both on the same bird. So we have the same bird, America. The left wing or the right wing, they're always for their self-interest. Africans should get together. Liberians, Liberia first. I thank you, Anthony, and I thank all the other panelists. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very knowledgeable panelists. I appreciate your contribution. We are focused on Liberia. Can't say thank you enough for honoring our invitation on a very short notice. We want to say thank you, and we will not hesitate to reach out to you. Maybe we will try next time to do it on policy. I see Obe is excited to go into policies. We can do that, and we need to, get ourselves involved in this kind of intellectual discussion to educate ourselves and also give other the opportunity to learn, about the things maybe they don't know or they don't understand. So we can't thank you enough. Folks in cyberspace, thank you. We have a song that say we are all Liberians, even though we're talking American politics today, but we are still Liberian. And the fact is that if you look at our history, some of us came from here. So we are in the right place to talk about this. Folks, thank you. And this is how we will do it. Bye-bye.
We are Liberians.